Hey, everybody.
Hey?
It's got to be Friday, right? Because I'm sitting here with you, Fiona.
It's true. That must mean it's Friday.
Yeah, it has to. And we are sitting in front of a live audience.
That's true.
Joining us
Hey,
today.
everyone. Happy Friday.
It's AWS On Air, the show where we talk about all the cool new things that AWS is doing, all of the service launches, all of the things that you're interested in because you tell us that you want to hear about it.
It's true. They do.
I'm AM, one of your hosts, joined with just one of the greatest hosts that
Hey,
there
y'all.
is.
I'm Fiona.
All right. So, Fiona.
Yeah.
How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty great. You know, I have to say, the weather in DC this week has been sunny every single day, and it's doing great things for my mood. How's your week going?
Nice. I have never been outside.
Oh, of course. I forgot. You're a simulation.
Yeah, in my life. Never experienced outdoors.
Never seen the sun.
Too afraid to at this point.
The outside world is scary.
Yeah, it is. So speaking of scary, you all are sitting there in chat alongside with us. I'm afraid of you all. But I also
or you
love
could have said it's Halloween. Scary, it's Halloween. Halloween's next week. Spooktober. Happy almost Halloween, everyone.
Halloween is a mindset for me. It's not a time of year. It's
just how long does this mindset last for you?
365. 365.
It's just always Halloween in AM's world.
Yeah, to co-op Charlie XCX 365 Halloween boy.
That's actually exactly what she said. Yeah. And she was referencing you.
Yes, that's right. Very proud of me. Anyway, so we're going to be learning some stuff today. We're going to be talking databases, but before we do, I want to get everybody warmed up here in chat because yeah, that's right. You're going to be asking us questions. I hope.
You gotta. We've got the answers. You need to ask the questions so that we can give you the answers.
That's right. We'll be talking with you throughout the whole hour, maybe hour plus. The way that I speak could be hour plus.
You are a chit chatter.
A little bit. So we're going to start you out with, I believe, a non-tech question, right?
I think that's a good idea. And maybe it should be along the lines of Halloween.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, 365.
365 Halloween vibes, correct. Yeah. I did say something controversial before we started the show today, and that is that I am a fan of black licorice. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't love candy.
At all?
I mean, I don't dislike candy, but I'm just not like a huge candy.
Are you the Wicked Witch of the West? Do you have no fun in you?
I am Elphaba. That's true. I do have an Elphaba
themed water bottle. There you go.
Water. That's true. You know, as Wicked told us, she got a bad rap, I think.
That's true. She did.
So I would be happy to be Elphaba personally. Yes, but
okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about Halloween candy with the audience here.
Why don't we, everyone? What's your favorite candy? Do you like black licorice? If I were to hold this up, would you be offended? This is black licorice. What are your thoughts?
And on that same train of thought, what's the worst Halloween candy? I'm trying to think. Like, I like M&Ms personally.
I'm getting slandered right now. Someone's saying from on air that I don't like candy by the sounds of it, or at least good candy. I'm sorry that you, AWS on air, don't have taste and that you don't appreciate black licorice for how amazing it is.
That's like the official account there. So, I mean, that's really...
Okay, chocolate, but not candy. Different categories. I could see that being different categories.
Yeah. Yeah. What about a chocolate with a candy coating like an M&M? Where does that cross the lines?
That is a fantastic question. Adenian King, I think you're going to need to tell us, what do you think about chocolate crossed with candy? What else? Are there any other chocolate crossed candy mixes? Are there chocolate covered gummy bears? I think that might be something.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
Yeah, I would like that.
Thinking of all of these relationships between candy makes me think of, how do I store data that is relational?
That's crazy, because that's actually exactly what it was making me think about.
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
Finish each other's Sandwiches.
Databases.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so we're going to be talking databases today. I avid database user. I use it to store ingredients primarily in the spells that I'm casting. I was recently visited by some sisters. They told me a prophecy, something about becoming, I don't know, the Thane of Condor. Maybe King of Scotland. King of Scotland after that too. So I've been really, I had to store a lot of data related to contacting these sisters to learn more about these prophecies.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah, obviously. What do you store in databases, Fiona? Normal stuff or stuff like me?
No, I'm just storing lots of, all the information about people that don't like black licorice and that make fun of me for liking black licorice, so that I could just keep that user data on hand.
Okay, good idea. So before we jump in to our first segment with our friends from the Aurora database team, we're actually going to talk to them about, scaling databases, doing things multi-region, learning about maybe Aurora Global Database. We'll hear a lot from them. But before we do that, we should do a quick plug. What do you think, Fiona?
I think that we should do a quick plug. And should we talk about potentially some other shows on air?
Yeah. So if you're tuning in and you've just discovered us, you're in for a treat.
Little do you know the world that you've just uncovered.
That's right.
Follow the Yellow Brick Road. We're now in the Emerald City. You have so many shows that you get to watch now.
You're in Seattle? That the Emerald City? Anyway. So what are some of your favorite shows?
My favorite show? Well, I am, of course, your show, I would have to say. Obviously, that was my very first show ever being on air, was Step Up Your Game Day. And then I always do, of course, have to say my least favorite show is Sports with Nick.
It's mainly the host, isn't it?
It's
not the
just
content.
That he doesn't like. I hear that he doesn't like black licorice, and it makes it hard for me to enjoy a show.
Yeah, that's tough. I personally love Startups with Jillian Ford and Lockdown with Kyle. Of course, our buddy Art with Under the Hood as well, and Data Dive too. Those are all shows. Which, if you're interested, I would say you should probably check out Data Dive if you're interested in the topic today, since they cover 100% around all of data warehouses, databases, data workflows, all of those things. So, all right, cool.
I think it's time that we should probably start, maybe bringing in this data team. How do you feel about that, AM? Should we do it?
Wait, we've got a comment.
That's very important, first of all.
A satisfying crunch. You biting into a Jolly Rancher? Who's biting into a Jolly Rancher?
I'm not trying to get a cavity. I'm personally not biting into Jolly Ranchers.
They come in so many flavors. Yeah, I the flavor.
That's true.
Candy corn.
So look,
I've got something that could be life-changing for you.
I'm waiting on the edge of my seat. Please share.
Get rid of this candy corn business. All right, just forget it exists. Go to the store. From the same company that brought you candy corn. They've got these little candy
the little pumpkins.
I
know the exact pumpkins you're talking about. I do have to say, though, I kind of think that they have the same flavor as candy corns, just in a different shape.
It's better.
Is that a hot take?
Really? It's better. I promise.
Okay, I don't know.
I don't know how it's better. Maybe that it's pumpkin powered.
Okay. Okay. It just you feel like it tastes like pumpkin.
No. It doesn't taste anything like pumpkin.
Oh, I'm so sorry to have said that.
But you can get the power of a pumpkin,
right,
like through the sigil that it is.
Of course, of course, that makes sense.
Just witch stuff, Just witch stuff. That's me. That's my life. I see some gummy bears. Chocolate's better than any candy. I think it's time to talk databases, though.
I think it's time to talk databases. I'm waiting for this moment. I can't wait for them to join us. Let's talk databases.
Bring them in. Welcome to the show, Simon and Rohan. Rohan, let's start with you. Will you give us a quick intro? Tell us what you do here.
Yeah, hey guys, really excited to be here. So I'm a principal product manager on the Amazon Aurora team. I get to work on really fun things on databases, but one of the core hats that I wear is on high availability and cross-region resiliency. So global database is a fun topic for me to talk to you guys about.
I love it. And Simon, please tell us about you.
Thanks for having me. I'm Simon Comendera. I'm a principal solutions architect here at AWS. Been around for over a decade and it keeps getting better. So glad to be here. I work with databases, so they don't let us out much. So thanks for having me.
Same here. I don't get out much either. I think that's on purpose too, Simon. So Fiona and I are going to just pepper you all with some questions here for the next
get ready for it
20 minutes or so. I want to kick us off. I know we're really excited today to talk to you about a launch that you just had. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to the launch. But for anybody joining, right? Let's set the stage for
welcome
them.
in.
Yes.
Come on in. Come join.
Hi. Thank you for being here. Let's talk to them about Aurora first, right? Why am I picking Aurora when I go and look at the database choices in AWS?
Right. So that's a great question. So, Amazon Aurora, one of the unique things about it versus like other open source and databases. So this database is fully compatible with Postgres and MySQL, but it's built for the cloud and it's highly distributed. So what we've done is we have a compute and a storage architecture that is completely disjointed and can scale independently, right? So your compute can increase independently to the storage, and that gives us the ability to offload some of the key database capabilities, like having backups and the ability to restore from backups or create logical clones of your database or scale the size of your database storage independently to the compute where your queries are running, right? So this gives us like a really powerful database built for the cloud that's fully compatible and at 1/10 the cost of like other commercial databases. That's why we see a lot of customers come to Amazon Aurora to power their mission critical applications.
Nice. And look, we talk a lot about scaling out workloads. We talk a lot about disaster recovery, backups, these types of things.
Yeah.
So when I'm building a workload and I've identified, and maybe we can talk too about how you see customers identify when they want to run things multi-region over just multi-availability zones. Where does Aurora Global fit into this?
Yeah, where's that line? That's so there are two things I want to talk to you about in this space. And the first one is disaster recovery, right? And one of our principles at AWS is we design our services for high availability, but things fail. And take the unfortunate example of the recent hurricanes that happened on the East Coast, and we were on the coast without a power for a week. So if your data center is in one of these regions, you've lost business continuity for a week, and that's a no-go for many businesses. It could have been even worse, right? Like it could have flooded your entire data center, and the data that you've spent years collecting, the treasure trove, right, is just lost in an instant. So, while you have an application that's well architected for having, multi AZs and is available within that region, what if you want to plan for disaster recovery across regions, right? So in the case of our United States, what if you want to have an application that is operating in the East Coast, but also can recover in case of a unfortunate disaster using data that's also copied over to the West Coast or any other region in the United States, for that matter of fact. So that's what when customers think about like single region versus multi-region, that's one of the key things that they're thinking about. The other use case, what we commonly hear is, I want to scale, my business globally because, I'm seeing a tremendous business model, and I want to take that across the globe. So I have this data that's critical. It's mission critical, and I can expand. This data is the power through which I can expand my business globally. How do I do that? How do I build a globally distributed application? Take for example, a streaming service like Netflix. Like, over the years they have built an amazing model of having shows from all across the globe. I myself enjoy watching like American movies and Indian shows and Korean bodybuilding and cooking shows, and all of that is basically being thrown in across the globe, and customers are just signing in from different places and viewing all the same content everywhere, right? And so how do you scale your applications to meet that need? And so
Yeah,
global, yeah,
that
this
makes
is where
sense,
global
Noah.
database comes in.
Yeah, I think availability really becomes
Mhm.
kind of the question that I've seen customers asking, right? When I have a highly available, has to be on, needs to, recover from the worst failures possible, right?
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense to have the ability to fail over to an entirely different region. A lot of customers, though, they are fine with utilizing availability zones because those are highly redundant as well. So I think it just boils down to, from what I've seen, and maybe Simon, you've seen, as a solution architect, some of these workflows that, or workloads rather, that can really benefit from multi-region architectures, things like that. So let's talk about what Aurora Global Database offers somebody who's identified one of those workloads.
Yeah, so global database is a feature of Amazon Aurora. And like I was mentioning, Aurora has this like distributed storage and compute architecture. And what global database does is borrows from the same architecture, where we have our replication servers that we manage as Amazon Aurora, that use the storage layer of your database and replicate data physically from a primary cluster where you have your writer and your readers to up to 5 other secondary regions that can be anywhere in the globe, right? And because we're using, each of these secondary regions can have up to 16 read replicas. So that's a total of like 90 read replicas that you can have across the globe to scale your applications. That's like tremendous power. And because we're using physical replication, I want to talk about why physical, right? So typically when customers think about like disaster recovery or just copying data from one region to another, there were traditionally two solutions other than global database that are very common. One is you could just take a snapshot of your database, so just back it up and copy it to another region, right? But with this strategy, your time to recover your applications would depend on how big your database is, because you have to now recover from this massive data set, right? And your recovery point objective, which is the time when you think about disaster recovery, it's like, how much data could I lose? So this is the time that's measured in seconds. That depends on how frequently you can copy this data, right? Because you're taking it across region and it's terabytes of data. Can you do things incrementally? So this stuff is hard, right? So this solution always sat on the like upper quadrant, where like you had like poor recovery time and poor um, uh, um, uh, the recovery point objective for your database. The next thing customers started doing was like, can I just use logical replication, which is essentially replaying the same logs on the database into another region. But that then comes with like overhead on your writer, and as your write throughput starts increasing, your lag will start to increase, because the replaying will start falling behind, and your recovery point objective increases. So with global database, because we're using physical replication, we're able to take the same logs that are just being written onto the database and just ship them over using our dedicated infrastructure to another region. And what you see is no performance impact on the writer, and our replication lags, even with 5-second regions, are typically under a second. So
Very cool.
that's the power of global database and the way we've architected it. But apart from that, we've built a lot of like functionality to give you managed failover and switchover capabilities to recover any of these secondary regions and promote it to give full read write capabilities. So in case you have an unfortunate disaster event, you can recover your application in typically a minute. And we take care of managing the entire topology. So even if you do recover any of the regions, we maintain the topology, we ensure the replication is set up properly back again. So the work to really maintain your global topology and have compliance met for like a global topology database is always on with global database because of these managed capabilities. And sure, like Simon is going to cover these, like one of the two capabilities in a demo later as well.
I was going to ask. I know we've got limited time here, so Simon, do we want to jump in and actually take a look at some of this stuff?
Let's do that. I had a plan for what I'm going to say, but at this point, it feels like unless I make a bunch of candy references, I'll just get kicked out of here. So
You
let's.
I'm already
we-
done with candy. Like I finished my.
Well, let's
I'm so bad. I finished all my Halloween candy by
just
myself.
like Rohan said, so many features, you can carve them out the way you want, just like a pumpkin, to make the shapes you want and use it the way you want. So let me just share my screen real quick, and we'll walk you through some of the global database tricks and treats. Well, treats, I guess. So here's a quick start here for y'all. We're going to do a really quick sort of walkthrough, step by step, take it one step at a time, starting with your regular Aurora. No, not now. Starting with your regular regional Aurora cluster. This is kind of a minimal setup where you have your Aurora cluster with just one instance inside of it. This is what you would typically start with. You'd add multiple AZs to it later for in-region resiliency. But when you want to start playing around with global database, it's really, really easy to just take your existing environment, take your existing Aurora cluster, and just add regions to it. So you don't really have to rebuild the whole thing from scratch. You can just add regions however you want. And this is as simple as going to your console and just choosing the add region option here. So we're going to add an AWS region to our existing currently single region cluster. And you'll be greeted with your familiar flow. We're going to just give it a name that's global. I'm not going to wait for the thing, but we'll just to show you how easy it is to create it. We are currently actually in North Virginia, so let's go ahead and go across the country to Oregon. You're going to have your typical choices of instance types for your new cluster resources and whatnot. This is all going to look very familiar if you've ever gone through an Aurora cluster creation wizard. So you're choosing your security groups, you're choosing your configuration, and basically all of this is, again, very familiar, consistent with your prior experience, and all you do is hit the button. And it'll start automatically provisioning your secondary region. So what you're going to notice is the topology in your console, which is now flooded with messages, is going to show that you actually have a global entity with regions being provisioned for you behind the scenes. That's going to take a snapshot from your existing volume on your existing Aurora cluster and do all the magic behind the scenes. So, it's actual automation, not that there is a wizard behind operating a machine here, like in the references we've already got, but this is going to take a moment. So I'm not going to wait for this one to finish. Just wanted to show you how easy it is to kick it off.
Yeah.
For the next steps, yeah.
So what you've just shown us is that you had a database that was just regional, and it automatically became an Aurora Global Database when you added another region to it. So that region that you added, that one becomes the default failover region. If you add more regions, can you determine or can you pick which regions you want it to fail over, or maybe in what order?
Absolutely. So when you add regions to your global topology, whenever you want to switch over or fail over, you can choose which region you want to move to. That is all under your control. And you have metrics that we provide as part of the service to tell you which regions have what kind of replication lag, what kind of status, so you can always make an informed decision. Or if you just want to do a sort of a dual region setup like here, you still have a choice, where to go, and you can switch back and forth without breaking this topology. So you don't have to recreate this whole thing after you've done a switch over, after you've done a failover. The topology that you see here right now will remain intact.
Very cool.
So Simon, I don't know if you're going to cover this later. Please tell me to hold it if you are. But when you're scaling out databases, typically you bucket things into reading and writing to the database, right? These are two very different things that scale differently. How does that work across these multi-region global databases with readers and writers? I know we've got two separate endpoints. Is there anything else that you would consider?
Sure, and I think it's a great segue to kind of talk about one of the new features that we've just announced, which is the global writer endpoint for global database. And I'm just going to collapse it right now, just so we don't get too much on one screen. This is one of the clusters that I already had, just to show you what it looks like. So in this case, we have, again, a global topology. You have your primary cluster here. You have your secondary cluster in another region. And you can notice that those clusters have multiple instances each. they are all readable. So if you want to have a situation where you want fast local reads for your client applications in secondary regions, you can do it right off the bat. Those are all readable. Extremely low lag, just like Rohan mentioned. We also have really cool features like read after write consistency modes for those secondary region readers. So you can have a certainty to the degree that you want that the data you're reading is actually current. As far as the writer endpoint, like you said, you have one primary region with a one writable instance. And what you used to have to do is you had to, call APIs, figure out who's the primary region, and look at the console and do all that to know where the writer is. So one of the really interesting features that we've just announced is the availability of a global writer endpoint. So in addition to the cluster-specific endpoints for readers and writers, now, if you just go to your global database, you're actually going to see a new endpoint down here, which is your global writer endpoint, which follows the primary region and the writer therein. So you no longer have to describe the topologies kind of through multiple steps, APIs, and what have you. All you need to do to connect to the current writer is to use this endpoint. Then we will automatically update it as the topology changes, whether it's you adding regions or you doing failovers or switchovers.
This is really cool. So I just noticed that Jeff Barr did comment in the chat, and he pointed out that this would take months or years to set up on your own without AWS. Finding and testing all these failover cases would take even longer. And so you're saying that this update that you've added now is that the writing is just being sent to one single endpoint, and then the customer now doesn't need to worry about where exactly that endpoint is if there's a failure, because AWS is going to manage the failover. It'll spin up a new writer endpoint, and you don't need to worry about changing that new endpoint because the same endpoint that you have set up will now send it to the new writer endpoint.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we'll update it. And just I don't know, we don't have a lot of time, but this should be a great sort of showcase for how easy it is to actually do things like failovers and switchovers. So just a really quick recap: switchovers are when you do a clean move from the primary region to a new primary region. We take care of data synchronization, there's no data loss as part of the process. Failover is more something that you use in a case of an actual failure, of an actual problem in your current primary region. We prioritize bringing up the primary in the new region. We don't guarantee data synchronization as a result of this being asynchronous replication, but it's super, super quick. So let's basically do this. I'm going to do it right now. I have my global database. I'm going to just choose switch over. I'm going to use failover, which is quick. Choose my region, confirm.
Chat, how long do you think this is going to take?
Unbeknownst to you, I've already been pinging these regions behind the scenes. I came prepared. So this is my current primary region. It has a writer on the left. It has a reader. And this is the secondary region that I had, which just has readers. Mm-hmm. We've done the failover request in the background. And so what's going to happen is you're going to see that we will actually promote the new primary region. And it's already starting to happen. And I've only been talking for maybe 30 seconds. We take a best effort attempt to isolate the current primary. We don't guarantee it if the region is actually down. But here, take a look at this. We missed maybe 3 seconds of pings on the secondary region, and it's already a writer. That's done. The failover is over. You are already operational from the secondary region.
Yeah. You were using the same endpoint, I'm assuming? You were using the global endpoint?
And actually, I used the secondary and the global endpoint behind the scenes, and it already switched automatically. Wow. This is just doing a DNS lookup, right? So it automatically switched, and this has been less than a minute.
Wow,
that's impressive.
That was awesome.
And we will now automatically rebuild the original region. No need for you to do anything. Topology stays the way it was.
I love the no need to do anything part. That's one of my favorite parts.
That's actually my favorite part too.
So Rohan and Simon, we're unfortunately out of time, but where can people learn more? We've been dropping links. What would be your suggestion to somebody who's interested in learning more about what you've been doing with Aurora Global Databases?
Yeah, so some of the things we have a couple of neat blogs. Our user guide has all the information that we launched along with global endpoints. We also launched something new today on tagging your global cluster. So all of that is also in. So yeah, our user guide, our product display page has all the information, and then hopefully we're going to collect a new blog that has showcases all of these new information that will also yeah, custom that you guys can view to learn more about all this stuff.
Amazing. Thank you both for joining us. Chat, go check it out. Go see.
Give it a read.
All right. We will see you two next time you launch something.
Thanks so much for joining us. It was great chatting.
Really great chatting.
Thanks for having us.
Finish all the other candy and all because of all the candy references. I'm hungry now.
Fiona. Candy. I mean, I just don't get it. But
that's crazy. I still can't believe that to be true. You really don't like candy?
I mean, it's just I don't know.
Just not your thing? Even when you were a kid, you didn't like candy?
Oh, when I was a kid, I loved candy. That
okay, so at what point in your life did you stop liking candy?
When my metabolism stopped.
When it sounds like you maybe just have good self-control, but you still like candy?
Yeah, I don't know. Not really. I have very poor self-control. But speaking of opinions on
Speaking of opinions, indeed.
on candy, metabolism,
feedback, thoughts on things in general.
Go ahead and we're gonna ask you to fill out this survey here. You can tell me how unhinged I am for my my takes on candy. It got a free forum.
Please do, actually. I think more people do need to tell him that. So be sure to write that in, everyone.
You could try telling it to me. It's
not going to change anything.
Gone.
In one year, out the others. But do give us some feedback here. We've dropped a survey link. The first, how many people will get $19? I believe the first 10 people. If you're one of the first 10 people to fill out this survey, $19 in AWS credits is yours. So go fill it out. Let us know what it is that you want to see. Tell AM how crazy he is for not liking candy. Let the rest of the AWS on-air team know that I'm not crazy for liking black licorice and that they just don't have taste.
We got told by chat that, and I don't know if this was directed towards us or Simon and Rohan or who really, but we were told we look like cool people to work with.
I don't think they were talking about you. I think they were talking about.
I was going to say
they were talking about Simon and Rohan for sure.
Not me. Not me.
Definitely not you.
Fiona, probably. I don't work with Fiona very much outside of on air. So
and you were just saying that this is the best day of the week, so that's got to be because of me.
That's true. That has to. Somebody just said they just tuned in. Who was that? They had it up on screen here.
It looks like it's
okay.
Used, and you're just joining us, and you just missed a presentation or a conversation that we were having about Aurora Global Database innovations. And lucky you, AM is actually going to summarize for you what we were just talking about. So AM, what did he miss?
That's right. So we were talking about, look, if you have ever deployed an application, you've most likely connected that application to a database, if I had to guess.
Probably.
And depending on when that was, that database may have been a relational database.
Could have been.
Maybe with an engine like MySQL or Postgres.
Postgres, perhaps.
Yeah. So we were talking through Aurora, which if you've ever had to manage a database can be challenging, right? There are a lot of challenges, backup, availability, recovering from failures because everything fails all the time. As Werner says. So Aurora helps manage a lot of those things. And we were talking specifically about Aurora Global Databases. So for those workloads that have very, very high availability demands, right? So high that you need to fail over to an entirely separate region in AWS. Aurora Global Database can do a lot of the heavy lifting there for you.
And we watched it happen. We watched a demo of it happen in less than a minute, a failover from one region to another. And we learned about a new innovation for Aurora Global, where the writer endpoint is now no longer associated with one specific region. It has its own endpoint so that when a failover happens, you don't have to change that API call to a specific region. It'll just send it over to the failover region, or to the region that it just failed over for you.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Often, you know, from a developer standpoint, I'm more a developer than I am a DB admin. I try and stay away from the database if I don't have to.
A little bit here and there, dabble.
Yeah, you would have to come into whatever codes to pull it out to production. And, you know, if you failed over to a new database, you'd get a new database endpoint, and you'd have to somehow update that within your code, right? That might be a code change. It might be you've got a configuration management setup like app config, for example, and you can change it in there and then push those changes to prod. But with this one, you don't have to. The writer endpoint just does it for you, which is always great. Doing things for me, I'm a big fan of. I'm seeing a lot of people talking, or not a lot of people. It's mainly just the on-air user and one other user talking about me playing the guitar back there, and specifically playing a copywritten song. So I can't do that. I've been told. I don't know.
I think that it sounds like you're going to need about 20 minutes or so to come up with what song you are going to sing for us at the end of the show. And you know what? That is actually the perfect amount of time for us to head into our Nvidia section, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I'm going to need a break to think through this. Yeah.
Just write a song for us. Why not?
Sure. Why not? AI can do it.
So true. If AI can do it, so can AM.
Let's hear from Nvidia on SageMaker, and I think we get to see our friend Jasmine talk.
I'm looking forward to it. Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Hey, thanks for the intro. Hi guys, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey Jasmine, I'm good. How are you?
I'm
Hey Jasmine,
doing well.
how's it going?
All is good. I'm excited to talk with you today. So, LAU, Saurabh, tell me about what it is that you're doing and what fun things we have today.
Yes, sure, Jasmine. So thank you very much. My name is Elio Triana. I work on the Nvidia Amazon team, and today we are so excited to work with Saurabh and the SageMaker team on bringing NIMs to customers. So we will discuss about NIMs. We will discuss about the Nvidia software offerings and how you can use it on SageMaker.
All right, Saurabh, your turn. We need to know what NIMs are. So LAU has already given us a little preview. What's going on?
Yeah, Saurabh here. I'm product manager for SageMaker Entrance, and I drive partnership with Elliot and team here, and excited to discuss furthermore about SageMaker integration with NIMs.
Awesome. So what is Nvidia NIMs? And, talk about how we're on SageMaker. What sets it apart?
Yep, absolutely, Jasmine. So Nvidia NIMs, we have been working on optimizing inference. So that's all we do is making sure that not you can get the best performance, the best latency, the best throughput, the best accuracy for your models running on AWS SageMaker, on AWS GPU platforms. So the way we have been doing is making sure that the software plays an important part of the role. It's not just the GPU, it's how you combine the right GPU with the right techniques and the right libraries and the right software. And that is exactly what NIMs come into play. But before that, I want to just show the screen, if you may, because either way, we will be helping any enterprise customer or any AI startup to make sure they can get optimized, they can get the best performance wherever they are in their AI journey. So if they are using optimizing or inference or Gen AI workloads, we will be helping across the entire journey from data acquisition, data curation, pre-training, model customization, information retrieval, inference, and guardrails. So wherever you are in the journey, there is a tool from Nvidia that will be helping out of that performance. So for all of these steps, there will be a piece of software, including NEMO and including NIMs, that are the one that we are going to talk about today. So let's go about NIMs. NIMs is a a container that includes the state-of-the-art performance. So you bring your model, could be Llama, or could be Nvidia NIM, or could be any other model that you have available. So you bring this model and you wonder yourself how you can run the best performance, the best inference for that model. So instead of going techniques by techniques or doing like a pretty heavy job in terms of understanding what technique apply, if it's batch size or sparsity or latency or accuracy, whatever technique you are trying to achieve, you just bring the container with the state of the art, you deploy it, and it's like at runtime. So this is the state of the art for performance, and we are excited to bring it to SageMaker. So I want to just let Saurabh talk about how we can do it on SageMaker, why for SageMaker it's important to run NIMs, and then we can proceed with the demo.
Sounds good. Thanks, Elliot. And so Jasmine, just for context, right? Like SageMaker is AWS's fully managed capability for customers to build, train, and deploy machine learning models. I specifically focus on inference, and within inference, like we have a suite of options that we give our customers to run their models, ranging from real-time inference, asynchronous inference, and serverless inference. So with NIMs that Elliot just spoke about, what our customers would be able to do is like kind of pick one of the NIMs that's being offered from Nvidia and deploy it on SageMaker in any of these options to get the best price performance when doing inference with GenAI.
Nice. So it's kind of, you just pick it up and run it in SageMaker. So we know that saves time and it creates efficiency, but what strategies are used to monitor like performance and manage costs in there? Is that built in as well?
Yeah, so with SageMaker Inference, we have something called as model monitoring, right? Like, so for any model that's running on SageMaker Inference, like customers would be able to kind of set up model monitoring jobs, monitor the performance of those models, and kind of retrain the models if needed, if they've kind of drifted and things like that, right? Like, so with NIMs, like what customers get is NVIDIA software for deploying these models, and when they're running this on SageMaker Inference, like we kind of optimize multiple layers of stack, right? Like we give a faster auto scaling, we give you price performance by running multiple models on the same endpoint. And then we have a broad suite of options in terms of the number of instances that you can choose to deploy these models.
Yeah, nice. I love hearing about all of the features that are happening here, as well as the optimizations that customers get to make. And they kind of have this, at their fingertips, but I would love to see a demo.
Yeah, let's have Aman, who's going to drive the demo. And Elliot, thanks for joining. And we can probably bring up Aman on stage.
Thanks, Elliot.
Hey, Saurabh. Hey, Jasmine.
Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Excited to be here. Let me quickly introduce myself. So I'm Aman. I'm a specialist GenAI SA on the machine learning frameworks training and inference team. Super. I've been playing around with NIMs for a while. SageMaker and EKS. So super excited to show you all a demo. Let me quickly bring up my screen here. Awesome. So today I'm going to show you how to deploy a Nvidia NIM for the 405B model, which is the biggest Llama model available right now. So it's a Llama 3.1. And essentially, I'm going to run you through a SageMaker notebook that, and you can find this notebook on the Awesome Inference GitHub repository that we have and that we maintain actively. So your first step essentially is to have an NGC CLI API key. And the way you do that, like Elliot mentioned, is you have an enterprise account on NGC Hub, and you create that NGC CLI API key, and you pass it in to your notebook as an environment variable. And then once you do that, you can set your IAM policies. So at the bare minimum, you need all of the IAM policies that are listed here. All of these pertain to pulling the relevant images from ECR, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, and then building those images. When you do something like this in production, please keep the principle of least privilege in mind, especially while defining new IAM policies and roles. Now, when it comes to setup, other than the roles, you'd need to install a few packages to be able to use SageMaker appropriately. First, you install Boto 3 and any other dependencies so that you can set up correctly. Now, in this notebook, we walk you through how to set up both the Boto3 session and client for so that you can make the relevant Python API calls. And then also your user and role configuration along with region, and then your SageMaker session, obviously. And then lastly, for setup, we set these environment variables. And so this includes your CLI API key, like I mentioned before, but it also includes the model name that you want to pull from the NGC hub, and then also the SageMaker model name that you want to give. So at a very high level, you would use something called SageMaker endpoints to deploy your NIM onto your required hardware configuration. Now, in this example, we deploy the 4 or 5B NIM onto a single P5.48x large instance. Now, remember, SageMaker endpoints are fully managed, so the infrastructure side is fully taken care of as long as you specify it while configuring your deployment. Now, your first step is to pull the image from the ECR repo. As you can see on your screen right now, we have we've defined a bash script that you can run. And all of this bash script, all it does is it takes care of the model pulling for you. And once the model image is pulled, you would then need to push it onto your own private ECR repository so that it is referenceable from the rest of your notebook and from the rest of your code. Now, one thing to note here is to make sure that your image is named correctly. You can check out NVIDIA's NIM page to check out all of the supported NIMs that NVIDIA has made available. And additionally, you can also check our ECR repository for the right nomenclature. And of course, you can print the NIM image as well if you want to. And then the last step is to actually deploy your SageMaker endpoint. Now, in addition to the NIM definition itself, there's a couple of things that you need to change, mainly because the 405B model is ginormous and it actually requires some additional memory and additional time to get loaded into memory. So the first thing you change is the NIM timeout value. Again, you don't need to change this for any of the other models, but since the 405B model takes some extra time to get loaded into memory, we can increase the timeout to 3,600 seconds. And then you can also increase the max tokens, which is the number of output tokens. Yeah. And then, of course, you can use the SageMaker.create model API call to actually create that model. And then once that model is created, you can then create your actual endpoint, or you can go on to actually configuring your endpoint. And this is where you actually specify your deployment parameters. So specifically, you define your instance type, the number of instances that you want to deploy your model onto, and of course, any other parameters like the SageMaker timeout, so that you're not constrained by timeouts. Like I said, we've noticed that the last two steps together take around 40 minutes to run. Again, this is probably because of the size of the model. But one more thing I'd like to talk about is how NIMS is actually configured to run on your specific hardware. So what happens behind the scenes is there's something called sweeps that get run. And depending on your hardware, NIMS chooses which configuration to run. And configuration is just in my opinion, a very fancy term for flags that you pass into TensorRT LLM, since TensorRT LLM is the backend that's running for NIMS. So NIMS automatically chooses the most efficient and the most optimized image to run in the backend for you. And then once complete, you can see two things. First, you see that the SageMaker model is created, and second, you see the SageMaker endpoint is created.
So I'd like to also chime in here that once the endpoint is ready, right, like the infrastructure behind the endpoint is fully managed by SageMaker, and then the model itself, the model weights, as well as the model container is something that you get from NIMS, already optimized by NVIDIA. So with this, like to run the model, like customers would get the kind of the best price performance on the infrastructure side coming from SageMaker, and then an optimal performance coming from NVIDIA, because these NIMs are already optimized for a given model.
Yeah, and to that point, let me just quickly show you the model that's created, and also, so if you go to your SageMaker console, you can see the model, which I just showed, and you can also see the endpoint configuration that's created.
Yeah, so that means that customers are getting to deploy these state-of-the-art LLMs in minutes and not days, right? It doesn't take days to get something spun up.
Exactly. So like I said, the 405B model takes around 40 minutes, and that includes choosing the best configuration for you as well.
That's just for the infrastructure to get set up, right? Like, but Jasmine, customers do save time in terms of trying to figure out things, trying to figure out where the model is, which is the best parameter, where like setting up the infrastructure, right? Like in terms of how do you club together a bunch of EC to create a service that's able to host a model. So customers won't have to do that. It's just like few steps that they need to follow, and they'll get an inference endpoint to get running with it.
Nice. And as we're moving through this demo here, what are the types of customers that are using this for? Like, what are they building?
Yeah, so like NIMS is kind of a broad suite of options in terms of the models that they've curated, right? They have models from ranging from Llama to some of the biotech models to some of the drug discovery models. So yeah, I mean, we've seen like customer interest across like all the spectrum that of NIMS that NVIDIA offers. And as Aman is sharing, like we have an ECR repository where NVIDIA is kind of putting the containers for AWS customers to quickly use that ECR repository to deploy the models on SageMaker with keys from NGC.
Yeah, nice. So a variety of use cases are already supported, and there's some documentation in there if you need to get a project idea of, oh, can I do this? And someone might have already started on it.
Yeah, so we have like a launch blog and a technical blog that we've kind of published about how this can work end to end for customers who are already familiar with SageMaker or not familiar with SageMaker, as well as the same goes with NIMS. You can just follow along the blog step by step, and it also has the notebook that Aman is mentioning here, and you can kind of pick any of the NIMS that's offered and deployed on SageMaker.
Okay. Awesome. Aman, anything to leave us with? We're going to come back and come to a close here.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say the beauty of NIMS and by extension, these notebooks is that all you need to do is essentially just change the model name that you import or the image name that you pull and the infrastructure that you want to run on, and you should be able to run all of these out of the box sizes.
Nice. I really like that, being able to give customers something out of the box and say, hey, get going. Awesome. All right. Thanks, Aman. That was great.
Sounds good. Thanks.
We'll have Eliud come back.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Just a close call to action is let's make sure that you can use NIMS on SageMaker, that they can get to nvidia.com and use it there, or come to SageMaker and use NIMS. We'll be happy to help.
And we'll paste the blogs and the documentation on this integration in the chat.
Yeah, they'll be here in the chat, and then let us know if you have more questions for NVIDIA along the way. Eliud, I heard that you're in the AWS marketplace for the NVIDIA AI Enterprise, so that's one of my favorite places to send customers, so we'll have those links all up for you and where to go next to get started. Sarab, Aman, Eliud, thank you. This has been so fun. I learned a lot. Let's see how we're using NVIDIA NIMS on SageMaker.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jasmine. Thanks for
take care.
Yep.
Hey, it's always fun to hear from Jasmine and our friends at NVIDIA. What do you think, Fiona?
I agree. I think it is always fun. Jasmine has such a wonderful voice. I love to hear her chat, and she does a great job, interviewing the NVIDIA team. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, same. I mean, very interesting stuff here. Very cool to see how to use some of NVIDIA's tech right in SageMaker. I know a lot of people like to work direct in SageMaker. There's a lot of tools in there to help you out if you are a data engineer or a
get down into some
engineer.
microservices.
I'm not one of those, just to be clear.
Just so we all know.
Yeah, it's one of those realms that it's tough to kind of break into.
You know who's the master of all realms? Jeff Barr.
Yeah, that's true. He is. He's smart about everything. And
can you imagine how cool it would be if we could bring him on right now?
Oh, there's no way.
There's no way. There's no way. It's Jeff Barr.
Oh, hey, Fiona. Hey, Am.
Jeff,
we did the impossible.
I'm here.
How you doing today, Jeff?
Really good. I was hearing you talking about candy, and I have this really bad habit of wanting to do practical jokes. And if you go to the Amazon catalog and search for bulk candy, and then you sort by descending price, you can come up with these ridiculous things that if you sent them to your friends or family, they would hate you forever. Like tens of pounds.
So you have to give us an example.
Like 25 pounds of chocolate chips, or a 30-pound jar of peanut butter, or like thousands of atomic fireballs, for example.
Have you ever seen the giant gummy bear? Like huge,
like room size.
Yeah, 3 foot tall gummy bear. I think you can buy that on Amazon.
When one of my daughters was expecting, she just happened to mention that she really needed some spicy Cheetos, and I ordered every spicy Cheeto thing I could find in our catalog.
And she still has them left over.
She filled up an entire drawer, and she's like, "Dad, please do not ever do that to me again." Like all the spicy Cheetos, not just the food, but like the socks and the t-shirts and like everything. So
wow, you went all out.
I totally did. Like the thing is, when this happens in our family, everybody knows it was me, because like
be careful what you mentioned, Dad.
Yeah,
He's gonna...
Exactly. Super fun. Anyway, I've got a little bit of news if we've got time to share.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. Let's see. The first cool thing, we upgraded the in-console editing experience for Lambda functions. So this is, I think, is a pretty big upgrade, and you get it for free. So the code editing experience is now based on Code OSS, which is basically the open source flavor of Visual Studio Code. So you get that, and you get Amazon Q developer integration. I like this a lot because you get this familiar experience. If you're already using Visual Studio Code, you know how it looks, you know the keyboard shortcuts, but it also is more functional because you can now have larger Lambda package sizes. You can have up to 50 megabytes per package of functions versus the old 3. There's still a limit of 3 megabytes per file, but there's a ton of good customizations, extensions and themes and settings. You get great uniformity between your desktop and your cloud, which I like that a lot, because I always like things where when you pick up some set of skills that you can use them in a bunch of places. You can do things like F1 to search for commands in the command palette, Alt-C for Q developer. You can even do a bunch of themes. There's a dark, there's a light, the high contrast. I think I've got a little screenshot here somewhere. Let me pop that one up. Yes,
I was going to ask, what does the integration with Q look like?
It just looks just like it's just like right there. I could even like zoom it out a bit, I guess, like that. Yeah. Yeah. So it's all there. I was playing with some Lambda functions this morning for a totally different blog post. So that's super cool. We will drop a link to that blog post in there and hide that guy away. Oh, hide that away. Next fun thing is something that's been in beta for a while and is now generally available. I actually hate that phrase, generally available, but it's like the phrase that we use, so I got to use it. So you can now bring your custom AI models into Bedrock, and you can manage them right next to your existing foundation models. So the Bedrock API, the CLI, and the console. So you got one unified tool set that applies both to your foundation models that you either fine-tuned or built yourself, and the ones that are available through Bedrock. And so what I like this a lot, because it's going to reduce your management overhead. You can run your models from within Bedrock, but then all of the cool Bedrock features, many of which we've covered on previous
guardrails and agents and
stuff like knowledge bases and guardrails and model evaluation, like you said, the agents, the Converse API, all of that neat stuff that applies to the foundation models that are kind of, built into Bedrock, can now apply to the ones that you bring in. There's a couple special requirements as far as like the file format and the precision, all of which is detailed in the blog post that we'll link. But the cool thing is, it's really point and click to get your models into Bedrock. So I think that's super useful for our customers.
I like that.
Last cool thing. Okay, so I often do these launches. I call it the chocolate and the peanut butter, because peanut butter cups are definitely one of my favorite candies. So it's often like while we're doing the chocolate and the peanut butter launch, and we had these two cool things, and they smashed into each other, and we haven't even tasted your kind of a thing. The funny thing is, we actually have one that we already had the peanut butter cup, but now we separated out into both chocolate and peanut butter. So we've got the elastic fabric adapter, which gives our customers high bandwidth, low latency network within AWS. This is pretty cool because it uses the scalable, reliable datagram protocol, or SRD, to talk from instance to instance. It's lightweight, it's low latency, it's high bandwidth, and it talks in terms of MAC addresses between the instances. And it's great for things like AI, ML clusters that need to send massive amounts of data back and forth really quickly. But it used to be the case that you had to actually use the elastic network adapter, or ENA. You had to actually allocate an ENA, and then as part of that, you would get a fabric adapter. But when you do an ENA, you're also consuming an IP address. So within your VPCs, you make a big cluster and you need lots of instances, but you're also consuming lots of IP addresses, which isn't so good. So what we actually did is you can now create elastic fabric adapters without network adapters. So you get the benefit of the high bandwidth and the low latency without having to consume IP addresses. And so let me see if I can find that little one there. Yeah. So when you're creating a network interface, you just pull up the little menu right there. You find this neat thing that says create an EFA only network interface, and then what happens? You get this one right there. You fill in the name, the details, and you create your elastic fabric adapter network interface. So I think that is pretty cool, and I think our customers will like that a lot, and we'll drop a link to that.
Lots of cool stuff this week.
Yeah. And that's all I've got.
Well, Jeff, since we have generally available, do you think we need a category of specifically available?
You know what? I have this habit of whenever I hear an adjective in front of something, I invert it and say, what kind of weird thing do I get instead? And so I always see generally available, and then I flip that into specifically available instead. So yeah, it's it's like, I don't know. I think,
what do you think is a better term?
But it's not really fully available. It's just one of those like dumb industry phrases that we just adapted. And I don't know why we don't say production versus beta or something, but it's just then it gets GA'd and it's like, what is it? Just call it just production, I think.
I have to call out too that Lambda console. It's pretty cool. I was taking a look at that earlier, and it's got a custom extension in there also that allows you to like deploy, test a Lambda function like in the VS, because everything in VS Code, if you want to add functionality to VS Code, is done by this extension network, right? So the Code OSS also supports these extensions. But instead of having to move up, out of your developer workflow, move up screen to go click the deploy button in the Lambda console, you can just do it straight in this custom extension. I thought that was really cool. A nice little touch.
I think so. Just to me, anything that lets you spend more time solving the problem and less time just using the tools and have too many different tools and too many different moving parts, I think that's always good.
Same.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we got 5 weeks left till reInvent? It is 5 weeks, right?
Oh, what's reInvent, Jeff? I've never heard of that.
So we get we invite a couple of our customers to Las Vegas. Not a big deal.
Just a few.
We hang out in the corner and do a couple of launches, and just usually our couple tens of thousands of closest friends show up. And
what's your favorite thing about reInvent, Jeff?
My favorite thing is actually just getting to meet lots of folks in person and to hear about their AWS experiences. And I love to meet when folks have benefited from something I've written. It's always so neat to meet people and say, oh, we've read a bunch of your blog posts over the years, and they've helped me to learn and to grow. And I love that one-on-one connection to customers. And so when I'm sitting here writing content, I can think back to those conversations and say, I'm writing for all these people that I actually got to meet in person.
It's having an impact.
It's good to have an impact, but it's good to actually, I don't look at metrics very much for the content I create, because I don't know how to make the metrics go in any particular direction. But meeting particular customers, I can kind of capture that moment in time and think, okay, I'm writing for these customers that I met at reInvent, and that's my audience. And I'm thinking I'm always working to make sure that I'm giving high quality content to those people that I actually met in person.
I gotta say, it sounds like you're customer obsessed.
I think so.
What's your favorite part, Fiona?
And this is going to be my very first reinvent.
Really?
It is. I'm very excited. I've never been.
Okay. What are you looking forward to then?
I'm looking forward to, gosh, I don't even know. I'm looking forward to the whole experience. Well, I'm looking forward to the 5K that everyone is apparently running in the morning on Wednesday of reinvent.
That's a mistake.
That always sounds great until you realize that you have to get up super early after having had way too much fun the night before.
How early is it?
It's probably what, 5 a.m. I would guess.
No, it's
that early?
a single digit time.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I know
Maybe
my
I'm
wife
looking forward to it a little less.
times, and at the last minute she's like, "That's just too early. Leave it out too late the night before having fun." So I don't know. I think she's made one or two, but
okay, maybe I'll take that back then. And what I'm instead looking forward to is getting to be with the on-air team in person and do some live shows.
That should be fun. I think we're lined up for some live interviews. I think I'm on the schedule. So
I think you are.
I heard you're going to come hang out with us too, potentially over at the game day.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. I've been doing game days for as long as they've been happening, so I will be there.
Yeah. We love having you.
The famous unicorns.
And what are you looking forward to?
Can I give a joke answer and then a real answer?
You may.
If I'm not allowed to, that's going to be tough for me. My joke answer is my favorite part of reinvent is about halfway through the week when the rodeo conference shows up.
Oh yeah, Thursdays, yes.
And you start seeing cowboy hats everywhere. It's pretty wild because you're used to seeing all the tech people, and then all of a sudden the outfits change. So that's my joke answer. My real answer is just getting to hang out with all of the community in one place. These people come out and are incredibly passionate about AWS. So it's very cool to see, that all in one place. Nick is telling me that we need to wrap up. He doesn't enjoy our conversation. He's
listen to Nick.
I guess he's probably going to jump in here now or something. Just show up on screen.
Gosh, Nick, of course he is.
The worst, man. I'm just worst.
Thanks.
What was that, Jeff?
Are we doing the wings at reInvent?
Heck yeah, we are. So yeah, we've got three things we need to plug real quick before we sign off for the day. First and foremost, everybody, if you have not taken the survey already, please go ahead and do so. I need something to read tonight. I pop a new bottle of whiskey. I sit by the fire.
Open up the surveys.
Open up the surveys. Some people like Nicholas Sparks. I like reading your opinions on how the show can be better. I laugh. I cry. Mostly cry, try to throw some compliments in there every once in a while, but let us know your thoughts. And most importantly, the last question in there, guys, is going to be what I have to do at reInvent this year. So one of the options is that I have to have a hot wing eating contest with Jeff here. So if you would like to see us both in pain, vote for that one. I think the other options are I have to dress up like a pirate. I think I have to have a dance off with somebody, which you do not want to vote for that one. If you've ever seen me dance, make Elaine Bennis look rhythmic, and something else. So yeah, there you go. If you want to see me rocking that outfit, go ahead and vote which one you guys want to see me have to do there.
Nick, regardless of the outcome, I want to eat wings with you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think that one would be pretty funny if we have to do a hot wings or a hot ones style interview. We've got that. We've got some cool shows coming up leading into reInvent. We're calling it the Road to reInvent. So November 15th, November 22nd, we've got some really cool stuff lined up for everybody. So be sure to tune in to those specials those weeks on those Fridays. Got some really cool stuff to give you a little sneak peek of some of the stuff we're going to be doing at reInvent this year. So I think that's all we got, guys.
Nick, you sometimes literally have a Road to reInvent, but you're flying this year. Is that right?
Yeah. I had to drive all the way from Nashville last year. Solid 27-hour road trip. Super fun. May have taken my niece to look at Christmas lights. May have thought that her cough was just a fun little tick that she had developed. May have been hilariously wrong about that. So, was unable to fly, but we made it there. There we
go. You're going to go by boat.
You know, that should have been one of the punishments. I have to walk. Yeah.
I have to
look, go by boat.
I have to call this out. It's not a boat, it's a ship. Okay.
Thank you for saying what we were all thinking.
For the pirate ship.
Unbelievable. But guys, I think that's all we got this week. I think we should let everybody sign off for the day and get started on this weekend.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, good.
All right.
Awesome. All righty. See y'all next week.
Tune in next week.